Oh dear.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Horizon Strength podcast. I'm Josh Parkin and my co-host here, Jack Buffery. This is a podcast dedicated to making you stronger, fitter, and helping you take advantage of life's adventures. Jack, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I am wondering if there is ever going to be an episode that we don't start with laughing, to be honest.
Yeah.
So something that carried over from last time when we recorded well over 100 episodes is I always used to catch Josh out by pressing record because the power is in my hands. I have the power, as Lion-O would say from Thundercats. Or was that He-Man? What was that? I can't remember.
What,
Don't tell me you're too
He-Man?
young. I have the power. What was that? Was that
By
He-Man?
the power of Grayskull.
So what was I have the power? Anyway, I'm completely going off script here.
Yeah.
But so I have the power in my hands to press record. So I'd always try and catch Josh out. Didn't
Oh,
need to this
yeah.
time. He caught himself out.
Caught myself out discussing how mean people are on TikTok. So, and the problem with people being mean on TikTok is always somebody with a faceless profile that doesn't post anything. So there's nothing you can do. I need to learn how to hack people's accounts so I can figure out more about them. But it's always somebody who has no. I had like a 3 hour long argument with somebody on YouTube the other day on one of my shorts.
I think you definitely won, though, to be fair.
Well,
Like, yeah.
yeah, because it's another faceless profile who's commenting on an exercise and didn't understand the basic science of anatomy and physiology. But, you can't win.
You can't. Hopefully, they'll listen to this podcast and they'll just be hanging their head in shame. Either that or we're going to get a shitload of comments on this podcast as well about.
Oh, for sure. We're just going to get bullied.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I thought we'd delve into our current training at the moment. Jack, you've been going on a pretty horrendous tear with your training in terms of blitzing yourself. I didn't know if you wanted to briefly mention that at all. When we met the other day, you just finished a pretty horrible workout and your hands were shredded.
Yeah, they've healed quite well, which is good because I had to do the same workout today. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the specifics of it because it's something I'm playing with the variables at the moment, and it's going to be something I go public with in about 4 weeks. But um, if I could give myself one criticism as a coach, as a trainer, and this would be a good topic for another episode actually, but one big criticism I have about myself is that sometimes I can be too logical and methodical with my training and the way I especially train myself. So what I've decided to do is step outside my comfort zone, which I haven't done since around my CrossFit days, which was a long time ago, and add a little bit of chaos. And I think you'll be the same. Although coming off the back of last episode, we were speaking about injuries. I don't know if this is a good thing to be saying, but because we know how to handle our body, we can push it that bit further and know when we're risking injury, basically, despite recent events. And I'm deciding that over everything else, I am focusing on intensity for 4 weeks, and I'm pushing it hard and ending up in a sweaty mess every time. Short workouts, just effective and lots of reps, and it's a killer. And at the moment, what I'm finding interesting, and I'm playing with this a bit, is I want to know whether I am going to overcome the cumulative fatigue or the flip side of that, maybe I'll end up with rhabdo. Who knows? But hopefully that won't be the case. And yeah, I'm going to see if I can overcome whether my body will adapt to cumulative fatigue or whether it will just carry on getting more tired and tired. And if it does, then I'll be able to revise what I'm doing. But yeah, a little bit of self-experimentation and just playing with that and seeing what happens.
I would say on that front as well is very. I think it's actually a lot harder than what people think to hit your upper limit. You know what I mean? To get to the top of the top where your body's just screwed. And very few people actually train hard enough to get there. So, I mean, well, you might not be that. You might be the exception to the rule there. But I think, you're pretty smart, and I don't think you're going to absolutely murder yourself. But one way to find out, I guess.
Yeah. just as a little teaser, because this is quite common knowledge, but basically one of my workouts, part of it is 100 pull-ups, and that's just one of the exercises. And I think that's the one that is probably likely to have the real big cumulative effect, because that plus I've got 100 thrusters on another one, which I'm doing with 20 kilo kettlebells,
Ooh,
and which is 100 reps as well. And yeah, they are cumulatively together, those two are messing my shoulders up. So
yeah.
it's self-experimentation. I want to see how I overcome it. So yeah, but there'll be more about that in a few weeks. So let's talk about your training, especially off the back of the last episode, where you're training upper body almost exclusively.
Yeah, so that's still happening. That is still happening. So about a month ago on our YouTube channel, I dropped a video called Project Iron Claw. It was the side quest series, episode 1 on our YouTube, and on that I was talking about one of my. I like to have little side quests while I'm training, and I'm kind of this side quest now has become a full main quest, to be honest. But, Project Iron Claw was all about trying to get bigger forearms and a stronger grip. And what I've been doing is tagging onto the end of pretty much every single session some form of grip training, whether it's pinch grip, crushing grip, or like wrist curls, wrist extensions, anything on that side, just basic holds, all that sort of stuff. And it's been a month now. So today I measured my forearms. And when I first started, I was 12 inches on my forearms. And then today I was 13 inches. So I've already
I can't
managed to
wait to cut this episode up into some interesting sound bites.
Yes, I've grown an inch.
Seriously though, in all seriousness, putting an inch on your forearms is no small feat, man. That is
Well,
pretty
yeah,
pretty freaking impressive.
it's pretty cool. And it's definitely getting stronger. So I've been doing a lot of like, one exercise I've been doing is I've been flipping a hex dumbbell on its edge, on its end, so it's standing up, and then just picking them up and holding for as long as that's an actually really nails exercise.
So, despite me and Josh doing this and running a business together, we're hardly ever in a gym at the same time. And I was in the gym. I was in the gym where we PT at. Again, we're never there at the same time because we only PT one client at a time. And I was looking at the dumbbell, and there's just this big chalk handprint over the end of it. I was like, "What has he been doing with that?" But now that explains it. So
Yeah,
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 I was
yeah.
curious as to what you've been doing.
Although I have got a new challenge for you, Jack. So I brought a little loading pin recently, and today I set up the loading pin with just a handle on it and a fat grip on the handle, and just was
Oof.
going for a heavy pickup. That was it, just a heavy pickup of the ground.
What kind of
Um,
pickup?
so literally just straight arm
Like a
picking up.
deadlift, basically.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
yeah,
you like it's only like you're not properly deadlifting because it's just like a
you're not
you
hinging as
lift
much.
off.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
but the whole it's more on your hands than it because it's fat grip. It's more on your hands. I,
Have you? Do you want to say on live how much you got, or are you
yeah.
going to keep that? Okay.
So today it was at the end of the session, so I was already pre fatigued. So today I got 65 each hand.
Okay, nice.
Um,
Each hand, they're both
uh,
equal.
no, actually, my left's stronger than my right.
Okay.
And but yeah, the goal is I want to hit. It's going to be hard, but I really do want to get 100. That would be
I was going to
fucking
say,
awesome.
yeah, it's got to be triple figures, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
fat
yeah.
grip. All right.
With the fat grip. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's you got to have a go at that, and yeah, that's a little challenge for you.
So I haven't done heavy deadlifts for a good few months now, but I used to be able to do 120 kilo single arm deadlift on a barbell, but that wasn't with a fat grip. So I'll give it a shot and see what happens.
Yeah, fat
Okay,
grips make a massive difference.
can I use straps?
Um, no straps,
I was joking.
just
Yeah.
pure
Okay,
grip.
that's good.
Um,
That's good.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm doing a lot of grip training. I'm going to my first arm wrestling club this week on Thursday night, which is going to be exciting.
That's gonna be cool.
If it all goes well, I mean, it might be my new sport. Who knows? We'll see.
I mean, it's a hell of a sport to go into. I don't know what the deal is with like training both sides of that. Do you know if you arm wrestle both sides in the club?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
do.
you do.
Okay.
So there's some guys who are obviously better with one arm than the other, but you do both arms. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to it. But also, outside of our training, obviously, as we know, we discussed last week that we're also all about going on adventures, going on micro adventures. So last week, me and you, we decided to go on our own little micro adventure, and we did put out a short reel of this later at the end of the week. But we decided to go from Swanpool Beach, which is a beach near us in Cornwall, all the way to Mainporth Beach, across the rocks. So instead of taking the coastal path, we tried to take the rocks and attempted to do it without getting wet, so without getting in the sea. And it was low tide, which meant that there is a lot of spots where you could climb down, but you then had to climb back up over the rocks to make sure you didn't get in the sea and get wet. So not only did we do that hike, but we also got to walk through a nudist beach where there was one lone naked man.
Was that? I didn't see him.
We walked straight. We were like walking next to him.
Literally had no idea. Obviously, you had your radar on, but yeah, no, I
Oh
didn't.
yeah, yeah. And then we also found a little shipwreck, which was pretty cool.
Mm.
Um, how did you? How did you find the? So we had a bet at the start, and my bet was that we wasn't going to be able to do it without getting wet. So what was the verdict, Jack?
Well, as I said on a video that I put out, Josh jumped in and pulled me with him and made me made me fall in the sea when I was trying to climb across. No, so we got to a point that was pretty much a vertical cliff face, which I thought I was going to be able to climb. So I tried it, but I couldn't for numerous reasons. First and foremost, being skill, but secondly, when I fell in the water off of that. I looked at it from a different perspective. I realized that I probably wouldn't have been able to do it anyway because of the crack that you had to navigate. But what I'm hoping is that because we came across some paddle boarders when we were there, and
Mm,
they said they filmed the attempt of me trying to climb around. They said they'd find us on social media and send it to us. I really hope they do that because I want to see how far I got. Because literally all I heard was a big splash, which was you jumping in, and next thing I know, I was falling in, and I must have been in the water a second after you. And yeah,
yeah,
that was good. So I got very, very wet, like literally head to toe. And then I decided to go snorkeling anyway, which had its
yeah,
own freaking mission because as soon as I dived in, my nipples were literally being tickled by seaweed the whole way. And I had to, like, you haven't got any room to move up or down. I didn't want to put my feet down because God knows what's in there. So I was like kind of floating along using just my hands at the wrist to swim along. So yeah,
mm,
I got really wet, but interesting to see the shipwreck. One thing I will say is any footage we put out of that should come with a "do not try this at home" disclaimer
yeah,
because
yeah,
we're pretty stupid with what we done, but
yeah,
we climbed up some vertical faces that were probably like I don't know, they're probably only like 15, 20 foot tall, but sharp, jagged rock faces.
mm.
So not the smartest thing, but would I do it again? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. It was a shame because I couldn't get the camera angle on you climbing, so I
Mm.
dove into the water to try and get an angle. But as I dove in, you fell in, so it just it was just bad timing. But it was interesting actually. So if anybody's ever at Mainporth Beach in Falmouth, where we finished, where we ended up, when the tide's out, you can walk. If you're facing the sea, you can go across the rocks on the left hand side, and you climb for 5-10 minute max, and you end up at a shipwreck. And the shipwreck is the wreck of Ben Asdale, which so this wreck happened in 1979. So it's not that long ago.
Wow.
And it's actually when you get there, you realize how big the ship was because the whole engine is pretty much on show, still rusted out when you're there. But it happened on the 30th December, so almost New Year's. And what essentially happened was the Ben Asdale was a freezer trawler and it was offloading fish into the hold of a Russian factory ship. Um, in Falmouth Bay, but the weather was horrendous. It was essentially force 8 gales and really heavy snow. And when they finished discharging all the fish, they tried to move away from the ship, which was called Antarctica. But the rope got stuck in the rudder, and the rudder wouldn't respond to the helm. So what happened is they started going off. One of the Russians jumped off the Antarctica onto their boat to try and assist them. It was actually two Russians jumped off to try and help. But what happened is as they threw their anchor down, it failed, and they ended up hitting the rocks. And there was a hotel back in the day that was on Mainport called I can't remember what the hotel was called, but there's three brothers that lived in a hotel called the Billcliffe brothers, and they ran out while in this like raging weather to save as many of them as they can, and all but three people survived. Essentially, two Britons and a Russian, unfortunately, were drowned, and they washed up the next morning. But yeah, it's pretty mental. Which is kind of cool. There's like a little shipwreck there with that thing happening. It was something so simple as they were just feeding a Russian boat. But the fact that three brothers in the middle of the night in a storm just decided, screw it, we're going out there and we're going to help them out, and ran across and tried to get people out. And us knowing where the shipwreck is, they would have had to have either climbed rocks or gone into the sea to get to them.
Yeah,
which is nuts.
they're so I'm going to put the article in the show notes because there's some really cool pictures of there from back then when the ship is whole,
Yeah.
and then also from what it kind of looks. Well, I'd say one from probably like the 90s by the looks of it, and then there's one what it looks like now, where it's pretty much what we saw, where it was all just like completely rotted out. And that's cool because underneath, from August 30th, 2012, is a comment saying, "I'm very impressed. The Billcliffe brothers are my bosses." So that's pretty cool just to see someone like commenting like that. But yeah, it's just cool to see stuff like that. And literally, first of all, like where the wreckage is, there's just bits everywhere. Freaking dangerous, by the way. So if you're in Cornwall at Mainport, if you go have a look, just be really careful, because we looked at one bit which was at such an angle that if we had jumped into the water where we were looking, we would have been chopped in half or something like that. So first of all, just be careful around it. But second of all, you just can't see it, and you can literally walk to it when the tide is out as well. So you never know what kind of adventures are just waiting around the corner, and just what kind of discoveries are. Because we didn't set off to look at that; we set off to see if we could do the journey like that. But that ended up being okay. We made it to a shipwreck, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool, like you said, and it's another example of you don't need much time to have a cool micro adventure. I think it took us about an hour and a half. Was it 2
Yeah,
hours?
it was. Yeah, it was hour and 28 minutes from beach to beach.
And we spent a bit of time just chilling. We didn't like rush, so it was pretty cool. And it wasn't too. You didn't need a crazy amount of fitness for it. It is still, most people would be able to do it, apart from the climbing bits are a bit. But if you didn't want to, if you just got in the water, you wouldn't have had to climb as much as we did.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be the sensible way to do it. And although it'll mean I won't see the shipwreck, I kind of want to do it at a much higher tide, so we swim the bits that we climbed instead, without having to climb down too far. I just think that'd be cool, because they're also, when it's high tide, there's some great bits to jump into the water there as well. So yeah, that's really good fun.
Now I figured, do we want to tell people what our next micro adventure is going to be, and then we can detail them in the next episode, or not?
So I guess let's go over the plan quick. Basically, if you were to look at a map of Cornwall, we are going to go from Geever Tin Mine. We're going to hike from Geever Tin Mine to Land's End. Then we're going to cycle from Land's End to Marizine in a special place called St. Michael's Mount. And if you're not from Cornwall and you're listening to this and you've ever watched House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones thing, you'll recognize St. Michael's Mount. That's where a lot of that was filmed. And yeah, we're going to kayak around that. I'm not going to go into too many more details yet because I think
Good.
it'll be fun for when we do it. But yeah,
Mhm.
we've got it all planned out. It's just a case of when we can do it, and we're hoping to do it this weekend. But it's very weather dependent and tide dependent at the same time. So we've got to make sure everything
Mm.
times out perfectly for it.
Yep. And also, we're gonna go jump off a pier on Thursday. So
Yes,
that's
which is
gonna
going.
be
I'm really looking forward. We were going to do that today, but then yeah,
yeah.
plans changed. So we're yeah looking forward to doing it. You done it the other day, didn't you? So
Yeah, did it on Sunday. It was
mm.
great. Yeah, yeah.
What was the tide like when you done it? I didn't ask.
It was like mid tide.
Hmm.
Um and it's the sort of jump where you jump and you have time to think before you hit the water, which you know is pretty fun. But moving on from that, moving on
Huh.
from where we're at, all our updates. Go, sorry, Jack.
Sorry, I just realised if unless there's a better place to bring this up later on, I've done something since the last episode we recorded as well.
What did you do?
Um, I done a skydive.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I forgot about that. How
yeah.
was that, Jack?
That was pretty epic because if you listen back to the last episode, I think I hinted at the fact that unless something goes terribly wrong, Josh might be presenting this episode by himself. So
Mm,
yeah, so since then I've done a skydive, which is by far the most exhilarating thing I've ever done, and I definitely want to do some more. So I'm going to be trying to organise the first Horizon skydive, which will basically be taking a group of our clients and doing one somewhere. And next year, the plan is to do my course so I can do a solo skydive as well. But yeah,
nice.
absolutely amazing for anyone who wants to do it or has ever considered doing it. Just do it. I mean, it's well worth it. It's just such a. I mean, Josh, you've done one as well, so you know. But it's
Yeah.
just such a rush, just falling out of that plane and going crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, mate, that's it. It's ace. I mean, I can imagine you doing a full course and then just bloody becoming a skydiver. It's so funny.
Well, and here's the thing, and I can't remember if this is something we talked about last episode or not, but I think there's going to be a massive difference from being forcibly ejected from a plane with someone strapped to you versus throwing yourself out of a plane. You know,
Yeah,
it's going to be two completely different experiences, and I want to know if I've got the balls to do the latter and not just the
yeah.
former. So yeah, that's what I'm building to.
Nice. Well, that is
Hmm.
exciting. Now, I'm just going to give everybody a quick layout of the land for today, which is something I probably should have done earlier. But the rest of this episode, we're going to be going over bringing back the basics, as well as trying to beat motivation dips. A little client shout out. We're going to talk about one of our clients, and then our main portion of today is going to be the best exercises for strong joints. So, first things first, bringing back the basics. Jack, I wanted to talk to you about this because I think it happens quite a lot in our life and in with our clients and various people we speak to, but also I'm just seeing a lot of more and more stuff at the moment. There is people trying to find this little 1% detail that's going to like make everything better. And we quite often get distracted by the shiny objects in fitness and nutrition. But none of those little shiny objects have as much impact as the basics. I was interesting actually the other day I was having dinner at my in-laws and there was beetroot at the table and everybody was talking about how beetroot is got some magic properties and is good for this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah, it's all right. You know what I mean? But it's not got as much benefit as just being healthy in general. And I'm seeing a lot at the moment of people starting to refocus again on all these little things that are supposedly going to fix some aspect of your life rather than focusing on the foundations that are really important. So I would figure today we can just quickly go over what are the main basics in all our categories. So what are the basics of exercise, nutrition, recovery, and resilience? We don't have to go too deep into these because each one's going to be quite a deep subject generally. But I think it's important to remind people what's important rather than focusing on these tiny little details all the time.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's a good shout. I think that's a again, it is something people don't really think about. This, it always comes back to where I think of people it's the same as money making, right? It's like this one thing will triple your income, or this one thing will boost your social media account or something like that. Whereas it's the fundamentals that really matter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Is it Hormozy put out a post the other day saying rather than focus on trying to get an passive income, try and make an active income first. you
Makes
know,
sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so in terms of basics, let's start with exercise. So quite often, a lot of people will try and pick out one particular exercise or one particular type of exercise like yoga or pilates or crossfit or all of this sort of stuff. um in terms of foundations, when it comes to exercise and what's foundationally important, I would generally say there's 2 to 3 categories here that are really, really important. One is building strength, so getting strong. Two is having a good amount of cardiovascular fitness. And then three is being mobile, so being able to just do exercises to their full range of motion. What would you say on that, Jack?
Yeah, I completely agree. Bear with us 1 second. I just need to pause. And we're back. Little technical break. Yeah. So in terms of like the basics when it comes to exercise, I think you're 100% right. I think what people should focus on first is building just that base. We talk about this all the time. Is that foundational base level of strength in all the decent major movement patterns, and they can usually be covered mainly by the big five lifts, which is going to be a deadlift, a squat, a bent over row, an overhead press, and a bench press. I would just add something like lateral for each limb to that as well. So you're moving outside the box that we talked about in the last episode. Then just having a basic level of cardiovascular fitness, which doesn't have to be a mass amount. It can just be running 1 to 3 kilometers and just being able to do that without being out of breath. And then mobility, definitely as we're getting older, then that does become a little bit more important as well. So mobility, just think of it as stretching with purpose, basically. And you can actually do mobility when you're doing resistance training. If you train that full range of motion through strength training, you're naturally going to gain that mobility anyway. So make sure you're not doing the cheap reps. But that is going to get you so far, and it's going to get you completely far enough if you're already doing other stuff like these mini adventures or playing any sports outside of that as well.
Yeah, I would also say that mobility is just a part of life as well, in the sense that you being more mobile in your day to day. So if you're just spending most of your time slumped in a chair, slumped on the sofa, then you're going to start getting tighter. But if you're moving around in your day to day, or when you go to get something out the bottom cupboard in the kitchen, you squat down rather than bend over. All of these sorts of things are going to help keep you more mobile. Take 2 steps at a time instead of one, all of that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Then you're going to improve your mobility alongside doing your training, because you're being more fluid and mobile in your day-to-day life, which I think really, really helps. But I think the point we're getting at here is it is really simple. Just getting stronger progressively in your training, improving your cardiovascular fitness, and that could be as minimal as doing long walks, or a brisk walk that gets your heart rate up a little bit, and then just being mobile, not sitting around too much.
Mm. I think I think once you get that base level as well, it's way more easy to maintain. So you have to think about it less. And more recently, I'm discovering that although it's really good to have a plan, once you've got a base level, you can also introduce, like what I'm doing, introduce that chaos a bit and just do something you either feel like or something that you can do with the equipment or the environment you're in. It means you don't have to stick to that plan all the time to carry on improving or at least maintaining what you've already got. So yeah, the more work you put in to create the base level, the less work you actually have to do later to maintain it.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Foundations are so important. And now moving on to nutrition now. And this is the one I find that has the most shiny objects. It has the most
Hmm.
distractions. There's so many different things that so many different types of food that people get dogmatic about. And really the foundations are a lot more simpler when it comes to food. And your nutrition. I would say that the main foundations are eating plenty of protein. So whether that's meat, or if you don't eat meat, whatever substitutes that you have, obviously eggs, fish, as well as protein powder is great. Then having lots of fiber, and then and after that, it's just a wide range of fruits and veggies and whole grains. And
Hmm.
I mean, I eat a lot of potato, but that's fine. Um, then the other foundations of nutrition are, if you want to lose weight, eat less. If you want to put weight on, eat more. If you don't want to do either of those things, eat the same.
Yeah.
It's yeah, yeah. And it is as simple as that. And I find that people are too busy looking for the magic pill when it comes to food. It's just having a good variety, a good mix of veggies, lots of protein, lots of fiber, and then filling out with this. And also enjoying yourself a little bit, right? Don't
Fuck
be
yeah.
so strict that you can't
I
eat a pizza
mean,
every now and again.
me and you love a burger, or like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
When we're out and doing whatever, like whether it's a meeting or whether we're even having like a Horizon get together, we're not going to eat a freaking salad most of the time anyway.
mm,
But that being said, what I will say, just to add on to top of one thing on top of everything you've just said, if it is health and longevity you're looking for, and not just cutting weight or gaining weight, in fact, it's really works really well for cutting weight. To be honest, is just stick to whole foods. Like the
mhm.
closer you can get to nature, as in like pure sources of protein, fruit, veg, and carbohydrates like potato or some grains, then yeah, that's good. Just don't stuff your face with refined foods all the time, and that's going to cover 90% of your base right there.
Yeah, exactly that. It can be as simple as that. If you stop listening to all the noise, and there's a lot of noise out there. I remember
Hmm.
back in the day when I first started getting into fitness, I used to read a lot of Men's Health, the magazine. I used to love Men's Health, the magazine,
Mm,
and every edition I read, there was a new superfood that popped up. That was like there was goji berries, the blueberries, uh, beeswax was at one point. You know, like all of these different things that you should eat because it did this magic thing to your body. If you did that, you'd be going to some natural food store and spending about £100 a week on just these
mm.
minuscule things that are only going to give you a 0.01% advantage.
Yeah, chances are if you sound pretentious when you're buying it or ordering it, then it's probably superfluous to what your needs are. You don't need it. You can just get around it by having the cheaper pennies option. And the other thing about eating like normal whole foods as well is that it usually is cheaper. Buying a shed load of veg, even if you're buying it from a farm shop, is going to be cheaper than buying a bunch of other stuff a lot of the time, and give you so much more volume of food as well. So, yeah, it's perfect for that.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on to recovery now, and this one's an interesting one, and this is actually what made me come up with this topic today. Is today I read a so on Instagram there is a guy called Menno Henselmans, and Henselmans is a renowned um, educator in the PT space, and he has his own PT courses, all that sort of stuff, but he's very good at breaking down studies. He's very good at breaking down studies. He posts pretty much daily of a new study that's come out or something like that. And he's put a lot of stuff about recovery protocols out recently. And unfortunately, their lack of efficiency. Um, and it made me think about all the things that people are doing at the moment. As recovery is kind of it's the new fad thing, right?
Hmm.
Recovery is the new thing, and whether it's ice bath every day, getting a chiropractor every day, doing your stretches every day, getting some special sleep mask, or whatever it is, there's all these different things that you should be doing to help with your recovery, and quite a lot of them have little to no evidence that they're going to help. And I was actually what is happening most of the time is it's just a placebo effect with if it's just helping you relax, so then you're getting recovered because you're relaxing, right? um but in terms of your recovery and like what is the foundations of recovery, then it's sleep, is improving your sleep, so whatever you can do to make your sleep better.
Hmm.
um Reducing your stress, so whatever you can do to relax, And that's basically it. So
Yeah.
relax, go to sleep. That's the best thing you can do for your recovery. If some of these things that you are paying for help you do those things, whether it's getting a chiropractor or whether it's going and having a nice bath or having a sauna or all this sort of stuff, if those things help you relax and get more sleep, then great, do them. But they're not the key to recovery. The key to recovery is getting some good damn sleep and not stressing
Yeah.
as much.
And then just to cross over with nutrition, like that's the other part of it is eating to recover. Then,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're not fueling properly and you're still pushing yourself really hard, you won't be able to recover from it because you're not going to have the fuel there to back it up. But also something that we should have probably talked about nutrition, I guess, but it works just as well for recovery. Is being hydrated as well. Like water,
Mm.
water will help so much with all of that stuff. So just make sure you're getting enough water and you're eating right, and then then it's sleep. Like sleep is so important, and sleep quality. It's not just about the quantity you get, but you can start with quantity. So you want to aim for between 7 and 9 hours a night, and then make that as uniform as possible. So go to bed and wake up at the same time, etc., and try to make it as streamlined as possible every single night.
Yeah, brilliant. Moving on now to resilience. So this is the final kind of area here, and resilience is also, I think, thanks to David Goggins and Jocko Willink and all those things, resilience has become a massive topic as well. Um, this was a bit of a harder subject to find the foundations on, and I was thinking about this when I was writing out what is the foundations for resilience, and I think more and more it's give yourself evidence daily that you can do the thing or that you can handle the problem. So if you are consistent with your training, if you are consistent with dealing with hard things, then your resilience is going to get better generally. And that's kind of the main foundation, I think, generally in terms of resilience. But I don't know if you had any other kind of areas on that.
Well, it comes back to the old saying, doesn't it? Is do one thing every day that you're scared of, and it doesn't have to be that you're freaking petrified of. It can literally just be that thing that slightly raises your heart rate when you think about it. It's like, oh, I've got to get a workout done today. Just go get it done. That will build resilience. To be honest, so I was one of the cold plunge wankers as well, and I didn't use it for recovery so much as I did for using it for resilience because it
Mm,
sucked getting in that cold plunge every day. I was using it to prove to myself that I was going to do something that I disliked, and it flooded me with energy afterwards, which was great. Whether the science backs that or not, it happened because it was the mental fortitude what that gained. And one
mm-hmm.
of our favorite things to talk about is if you never push that boundaries of doing stuff that is uncomfortable to you, then spilling a glass of water on a carpet could be the worst thing of your day, where it should just be, oh, look, I've done that. It's okay. It's just water. So just doing something that pushes your effort levels, and if you can, just creep into that. If it slightly scares you, then you're going to build mental resilience. And this isn't just a single straight line. This has got many divergent things. If you are pushing yourself every day, it will grow outwards, not just be that singular line. So you'll become more resilient to everything, not just the one thing that you're actually doing.
Yeah, brilliant, wonderful. So there are how we can bring everything back to basics and focus on the foundations. So if anybody feels like they're getting lost a little bit in the noise and there's just so much going on out there, these are the foundations you want to focus on when it comes to your exercise, nutrition, recovery, and resilience. But talking about resilience, I think this is a great time to segue into the next section. And I wanted to talk about motivation dips because I've been struggling a little bit lately, actually, with my motivation. Um, getting injured, those sorts of things can knock you back a little bit when it comes to your motivation. And I thought it'd be good to talk about what our our tactics are for keeping stepping forwards even when our motivation dips, or how we can beat those motivation dips. Um, as I said, at the moment, as we talked about in last episode, I've had like 2 injuries recently, and that's knocked me for six a bit and kind of got in the way of my training. So my motivation has definitely been lacking. Um, what about yourself? Did you find that your motivation waned after you got injured?
Yeah, it kind of did. And for me, as much as I say that perfection is the enemy of progress, I like having a plan in place. And
Mm-hmm.
when I got injured, that messed up my plan, and it took me a while to get another plan to replace it. And yes, I worked out, but I wasn't pushing it. I wasn't giving it what I wanted to give it in the workouts.
Mm-hmm.
But where my motivation really goes off track is with food most of the time as well. It's like,
Mm.
oh, I can't bother to eat healthy. And I don't need much of an excuse not to either. It's like, oh, I'll
Mm.
start Monday. That I'm like, I could be a nightmare for that. I'll start Monday. I'll start Monday. And then yeah, so that is a nightmare. But it's it's something that everybody deals with. And like we were talking about the injuries in the last episode, just because of what we do does not make us immune to struggling with
Mm.
this as well.
So how did you get yourself out of that little dip when you got injured? What was your way of getting back on track?
This is like going to be quite niche because it's my age range. It's the fact that I turned 40 and I'm like, look, you're not gonna you're not gonna improve right now, and it's only going to get harder unless you actually take action. So, the couple of ways that I do that is I tell myself I've made a decision. Okay, so that is, I think that it comes from the Latin. When you say to decide, it means to cut away from, cut away every other possibility, which is where the origin of this program that I'm running now has started.
Mm.
Something I have done in the past, and this works quite well, is that instead of like 4 week phases. So if you're new to working out, you could probably run the same program for 12 weeks and you would be absolutely fine. You would carry on growing, you'd carry on getting progress throughout those 12 weeks. However, you'd probably get bored as shite. So, one of the things that I found works for me is that I do short phases, and I found that a 3 week phase for me is really good. It's just long enough that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. If I want to add another week onto it, I will. But if I want to move on to the next phase, then I'll do that on the fourth week. Um, so that's how I do it. It's like it's not stopping; it is adjusting just to make sure I've got something to move to.
Yeah, yeah, great, brilliant. Yeah, I've found that with my when my motivation wanes, it is trying to switch off the critic. I am very hypercritical of myself, and will talk down to myself when things fall off the wagon. Um, so I'm trying. It's hard work, mine, but I'm
Mm,
trying now to rephrase things and what are the things that I say to myself that are negative or hyper negative, and how can I reframe them? How can I reframe them into something positive and stop giving myself so much shit? And I think because like if the giving myself shit was helping, I'd be doing better.
mm-hmm.
You know, so that's something I've been working on to help with the motivation side. Is when things fall off, don't be hypercritical. Instead, be less hypercritical, be more positive, and then that's actually this time around has helped me get back on it quicker for sure, and actually just then find another avenue. Like, yeah, uh, my knees are bad, I can't do much legs at the moment, but what can I do? I could just train way more forearms and get absolutely jacked forearms. Like, well, whatever, it's what's
It's
the other
quite
route?
funny. I've gone the opposite direction for myself because
Yeah.
I'm usually the other way. I am definitely the tortoise, not the hare. I'm like, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. You're just doing it one step at a time. You're going to get there because you're going to be a net positive at the end. But I am really wanting to make a difference at the moment, and I'll be like, come on, you little pussy, let's fucking go. And I am literally giving myself shit. And again,
Mm.
I think it is to do with the fact that I'm seeing this as like, right, this is catapulting me into my next decade of life between my 40s and
Mm.
50s. I'm like, it's not the David Goggins level, don't get me wrong, but it's I think I can be quite easy on myself sometimes because I know
Mm.
I'm still moving in the right direction. But I now feel that I'm I'm at a stage of my life where going easy on myself isn't going to be beneficial to me. So for the listener, this is probably like, well, which one do I do? And this is where self-awareness comes in, isn't it? This
Yeah,
is like, well, what do I usually do? Has that worked for me? What can I do that's different? You don't have to
yeah.
go crazy different. You can just be a little bit of, a little bit of tweaking here and there.
Yeah, if something's not working and you've been doing it for ages, change.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Funny that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's essentially, unfortunately, what it is. One thing I
Mm,
will say though, which is just a little side point I put on here is, motivation's great, but what's really important is you start forming habits. So if you can
mhm.
start focusing on forming habits that are easy, over motivation, but use motivation when you have it, like jump on that inspiration, motivation, and go, 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 go. But when that runs out, make sure you have the habits in place that so you can still keep moving forwards, and start with something easy. Start something easy you can just link with something else.
Yeah.
When we used to do with every client, do a posture assessment, and if their posture is really off, I'll get them to practice their posture while they're cleaning their teeth. It's a really easy time to do that. So what can you pair up with another habit that you already
Mm.
do that's going to help keep you on track?
Yeah, motivation really is finite. It is not something we can rely on all the time. And what I tell myself and my clients is your motivation will disappear, and it's then becomes a test of character as to whether you carry on or not. So it's then showing what kind of person are you. Are you the person that will stop, or are you the person that will carry on? That
Hmm.
can sound kind of harsh now. I've just said that out loud, but it doesn't make it any less true. It is,
No, yeah,
you are defining what your character is by how you act when your motivation goes.
exactly. So let's move on. Next we have a little client shout out. I figured we give each other the option to shout out a client that we have got who's doing really good at the moment. I think it's just nice to do that, and if they
Yeah.
don't like it, tough shit. I think it's good to
Okay.
celebrate our clients. So
100%.
I'll go with mine first, and mine is I put you on a spot because I haven't told you need to do this, but you've always got somebody you like to shout out.
Hmm.
Um, Mine is going to be Shelley. So Shelley's been on my social media a couple of times now, and my God, is she an absolute beast? Now, if I told you that one of my clients can do a 24 kilo chin up, a over she can do reps 15 kilo push up, um what who would you think that was?
You just said, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know who it is, yeah, but yeah, yes.
you know what I
So
mean.
yeah, it's like a proper badass. If you, yeah, who
Yeah,
it is without the name, then I would say that is a badass, and yeah.
yeah, she's um she's incredibly strong and shredded, and I don't know anybody who trains as much as
Hmm.
um this woman, and she's doing in not this weekend, next weekend, a 50, I think it's a 50K or 50-mile gig row,
That's
as
mad.
well as training twice a week with me and like gig rowing pretty much most days and cycling everywhere. So it's just good to give people like that a shout out because she
Yeah,
is like, you don't, she's a prime example of you can be anybody can do this sort of thing. And yeah, a
she
24
loves it
kilo
as well.
chin
She
up.
loves breaking through a barrier. She's like
Yeah.
proper, like, oh, yeah, it's good.
And she only weighs 56 kilos, by the way, and did a 24 kilo chin up. So she
That's
did
mad.
pretty much a half body weight,
Mm,
well, almost half body weight chin up, as well as she can deadlift over a body weight, so double body weight, sorry.
yeah,
She could do over
and
double body weight deadlift.
she does all the rowing as well. Like she is a
Hmm.
full on. She's an athlete. Like there is no two ways about it. She's a full on athlete. Yeah.
Pretty cool. It's pretty
Mm.
cool. And she's had a hip replacement.
Yeah, yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, fair play, Shelley.
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations, you win gold on this one.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Dear.
yeah. Yeah.
That's good. I think what we should do, I know who I want to shout out, but I'm going to leave that till next episode. I reckon we do one client in an episode on this one because I know who I want to shout out as well. But you know,
Yes, yeah,
following
maybe
Shelley
because
up is a tough call. So yeah,
yeah, that's my bad. Sorry, go out with my strongest client. Yeah, just
that's good.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll do that. That'd be good.
awesome. So let's move on to our main section. And um, last week we went over the best exercises for adventure ready strength, and now what I wanted to go over is the best exercises for strong joints. And I've done this in two ways: one, just what the overall best exercises, and then two, joint by joint, what I would consider a sum of the best exercises. Now obviously there may be other exercises that are just as good, but this is the ones that I am enjoying using at the moment with many clients. And the reason I put this out here is if you're wanting to go out and adventure, you wanted to go out and climb and hike and kayak and do all this cool stuff, it's really important that we keep our joints strong so that we are at less risk from injury and we're just more confident in doing things that maybe normally seem a little bit out of our reach. And with our experience over the years of training people who've had come in with bad joints and then come out with better joints and then gone to adventure, these are the ones that I've seen have worked really well over the years with many of our clients. And first and foremost, I'm going to go over what the overall best exercise is for strong joints. And this is going to be a lot different from what a lot of people think, and that is heavy squats and heavy deadlifts. Now, a lot of people think I'll be going for some physio exercises, which a lot of the exercises after this are. However, if you want to build strong bones, strong joints, the best thing you can do is get strong in full body compound exercises.
Yeah, yeah, I can't disagree with that. Although I have got an outlier for this.
Of course,
Um,
go.
it's the same as last week. It's the bonus one from last week.
Turkish get ups.
Yeah, if you can get a heavy Turkish gallop, it will hit
Mm-hmm.
every single joint on this list, and it will be really, really good for that. But the drawback is that you won't be able to build up as much load as what you can with a heavy squat and a deadlift. So yeah, complete. I would err on the side of squats over deadlifts on this, but both of them together, yeah, they're gonna make
Mm-hmm.
you an absolute animal and give you good joint health. Obviously, there is a point of diminishing returns and then a point of no returns if you're getting into like steroid and Ronnie Coleman category. But
Yeah.
if you're looking at just everyday
Mm-hmm.
exercising, then yeah, you cannot beat heavy squats and deadlifts.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the just getting stronger is going to help your joints, is going to help you get better as long as everything's done with really good technique.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to joint by joint now, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. So we're going to start with the ankles. Now, I have two here that are my favorites for getting people to have strong ankles. One is any form of balancing work
Mm-hmm.
because we very rarely do anything like that. I have a group that I train on a Wednesday morning. They predominantly do calisthenics bodyweight work, but we also throw in some balance stuff in there because it's quite fun and it's something that we very rarely do. And it really does help build strong ankles. My other one is calf raises. Now, a lot of people think that calf raises is solely just to get bigger calves. Yes, it's going to do that. But when calf raises are done right, not only does it give you stronger calves and stronger ankles, but it improves the range of motion in your ankles as well, which is super, super important.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the things I coach him on the hybrid classes I do is I haven't done this in a while actually. I might have to reintroduce it now. I've just seen this. Is the balance work a tree pose with your eyes closed? It's really freaking hard, and
Mm-hmm.
your ankle will have to work so hard to maintain the balance. And closing your eyes makes such a big difference. The metaphor I always use for this is if you imagine a kestrel gliding, just hovering in the air, and you'll see all these micro adjustments it makes of its wings. That's essentially what your ankle is doing. It's just adjusting like millimeter by millimeter, millisecond by millisecond, and it's just keeping you in the same place. So yeah, I really like both of them. And like you say, calf raises. If you do anything, if you're a cardio junkie and you run a lot, you should be doing calf raises with a full range of motion, emphasizing that stretch down the bottom, because otherwise you're going to get jacked up Achilles and blow one out one day.
Yeah. One thing I got doing with the group on a Wednesday morning was they were balancing on like a stick. So it was like a round, they were balancing on a pole essentially on one foot. And then on the other foot, they were holding like a light dumbbell, a kettlebell on that foot. So
Nice.
one foot was active, one foot was balancing. And that was quite interesting. It was quite a fun little exercise. Um, But moving on to our knees now. So going up the line, this exercise I put in because it's great for improving range of motion and it's great for beginners people who may have quite sore knees or have minimal range of motion or minimal stability, and that is a Peterson step up. Now, a Peterson step up was, I don't know if it was created by Charles Poliquin, but I know he was one of the ones who um, got it famous. And essentially, you stand on a box with your heel elevated and you lower, keeping your body straight, you lower down to your heel touches the floor of the other leg and then straighten up again. But you're pushing your knee forward. So you're trying to get as much flexion in your knee, trying to get as much bend in your knee as you're doing it. Um, this I've used on quite a lot of people with bad knees, and it's helped over time. You just go higher and higher and higher, and you can load weight because obviously you can hold dumbbells, whatever. And it gets good. It eventually turns into essentially a pistol squat.
Yeah.
It goes from a
Yeah.
Peterson step up to a pistol squat. So it's
That's it.
great for, yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't really add anything to that at all because Pez step up. It's one of those moves that can get frustrating if you're a beginner because it doesn't seem like much is happening, but
Mm-hmm.
so much really is happening. And I'll be honest, it's actually good for your ankle as well. It's another one that will work
Yeah.
both. So good for
Mm-hmm.
knee and ankle. Um, the progression obviously is the pistol squat, but I would also add to this when your knees are healthy, to keep them healthy, a sissy squat is absolutely amazing for knee health if you
Mm-hmm.
can do it with good form. And to regress a sissy squat, you can do a cyclist squat as well, and then start to
Mm-hmm.
lean back into that. So a sissy squat basically is driving your knees forward over your toes, but without bending at the hips. So the way I've explained it is like Neo in the Matrix. Imagine you're trying to push your knees forward and get your torso low to the ground without a bend in the
Mm.
hips. And then that if you can't do that, like Pedersen step up will help you get to that. And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously you've got like the pistol squat and stuff as well. Really, really good.
Yeah. Sissy squat, if people are wondering why it's got a funny name, it's actually named after Sisyphus, the Greek mythology guy who used to push a rock up a hill, not named after people that are sissies. Just so you know. So
Yeah, we. I remember being called out by somebody in the gym for that. It's like, oh, was it called a sit? And then yeah, so why do
yeah.
you care, sissy?
So moving on to our hips now. Now there's actually a lot I could have picked for hips. There's many different ways in which we can get stronger hips, but I picked the 90-90 here. Now 90-90 is a stretch where you sit on the ground and have your legs in 90-90, 290 degrees, look like the Isle of Man essentially, and but you can do it active, so you can not only sit in that 90-90 position and stretch in multiple ways, but you can also raise your back heel to get some active hip. Get your fucking hips active. I've lost the words then, but you know what I mean.
I love the 1990. I get all my clients to do them. I do them myself. One of the things and she swears blindness has fixed her hip. I don't know if you've got any clients with this, Josh, but you have clients that where their hips clunk when they're doing like sit-ups
Mm-hmm.
or leg raises or something
Yeah.
like that. It stopped happening since I've started doing 1990s. But I also do the hip raise with them. And it was you who told me that that's used a lot in martial arts, where you do the 1990,
Mm-hmm.
then you essentially lift your whole hips and go onto your knees off
Yeah.
the floor.
Yeah.
Love that exercise so much, and she really does. She tags that with having fixed her hip because it doesn't clunk anymore, and she feels, and she's also way more balanced on the squat since doing those all the time as well.
Happy days. So yeah, it's a really good exercise. It's good mobility, and this is one you could do anyway. You could do while you're watching the TV in the front room. You know, it's quite an easy one.
Yeah, just get on
Now,
the floor. Yeah.
exactly. moving on to the shoulders now. So for the shoulders, I've got two things partnered up because I think these two things are important. One is external rotation, so doing some form of external rotation work. That's where we rotate. Where some of people, if you're listening on a podcast, I'm fucking waving in front of the camera. So, elbow on your knee is the easiest way to do it, sitting up straight, and then you rotate inwards towards your torso and then come out, and that's externally rotating your upper arm in the shoulder and the shoulder socket. And what it does is it works your external rotators within your shoulder. So you have your four rotator cuff muscles, and two of them are externally rotate the shoulder. Because what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of pulling exercises that work your lats, as well as a lot of pressing exercises, both of those things internally rotate your shoulder. So it's really important to get some external rotation work in there. Charles Poliquin back in the day said you needed to do something like 8% of your bench for 10 reps, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that is a lot.
Yeah, I've got the exact number wrong, but that's a bit too much. But it's definitely good to get that strong. But what I think is also important alongside doing external rotations is to get a strong shoulder blades or strong scapula. If you have a scapula that's not really doing its job, your shoulder blade is not really doing their job because the muscles are weak and they're flared, then you're going to struggle to do your external rotations correctly because your shoulder's in the wrong position. So doing some exercises that pull your shoulder blades in and keep them tight, so whether that's cable seated rows, anything like that that's going to work your rhomboids, anything that works your lower traps, that's going to be good as well.
Yeah, and this is really important for anybody who does a desk job or, they just hunch over all the time. This is going to help fix a hell of a lot of that. Another one I really like that includes the external rotation is a Cuban press for this as well. And a Cuban press, it's hard to go heavy on it. You still get that external rotation. And one thing I'll say about this is that you're only as strong as your weakest link in the chain. And when it comes to like the external rotation and, well, any rotators, they can sometimes be the weak link that are guiding the rest of the muscles, and it's easier to blow one of those out. So you want to make sure all of those are strong, because otherwise, it's basically injury prevention. But also, if you're going to build a rear delt, which external rotation does as well, it's a really impressive muscle to build. So definitely recommend doing that.
100%. Now we're moving on to our elbows. Now, this is a bit of a different one. I've put for this an overhead tricep extension. The reason I put in an overhead tricep extension is that it's not only good for building up your triceps and the longer portion of your tricep and helping protect the elbow, but it also improves your mobility a little bit and helps you be able to. A lot of people struggle to get their elbows above their head in that position. So that would show that you're quite locked up and tight, which will affect your elbows eventually. So an overhead tricep extension is going to be a really good way to strengthen your elbows up a little bit.
Yeah, and you're so fucking right with the. This is one of my bugbears at the moment. I've actually got a few clients, and to be fair, it's something to do with their rib cage and the way their scapula glides over it. But they actually struggle to get their elbows up, and then they can't fully extend. So I'm trying to work on their tricep strength to be able to fully extend. Both of them have really tight traps as well, so it's going into their necks a lot whenever they're doing it. But I'm trying to just coach them through that overhead tricep extension. And plus, if you're like doing any bodybuilding stuff as well, overhead tricep extension does hit all heads of the tricep way more than, say, like a cable pull down or something like that. So benefits all around basically for that one.
Yeah. If you're not sure quite how to do the exercise, we did recently put out a short form video of this. It's just called How to Fix Your Overhead Tricep Press. The key is to try and squeeze your elbows towards your head, which is what people struggle with the most. If they flare out, you start hitting your shoulders a little bit more than you do your triceps.
Yeah, there's something called a French press, which is similar to that, and it's One thing I will say to look out for with doing an overhead tricep extension is only because this is the trouble my clients have is don't jut your chin forward because that's just going to tighten up your trap. So try to keep a nice neutral spine, because if you're pushing your head forward, having your elbows by your ears, it doesn't mean as much. So nice neutral spine, then keep your elbows up by your ears.
Awesome. And then the last one is your wrists. Now, for wrists, you just need strong grip,
Oi,
really.
oi.
Uh, so I would just say farmers walks is the easiest.
Hmm.
Some form of wrist curl in there is probably a good idea. So some form of curling work with your wrists is going to help just keep the mobility in there, but just get stronger grip. So farmers walks is great. When I eventually put out my Project Iron Claw program, by that.
I've got nothing to add to that. Like lifting something heavy is going to give you way much better wrist strength than anything else. And as long as you're doing some mobility with it as well, then that's all you need to do. But if you can do a push-up position pain-free, then that's what you want to be working on. Like push-up position
Yeah.
pain-free and farmers, that's perfect combination.
Exactly. So there are all our exercises for all the joints for improving to getting stronger joints. First and foremost, get strong. So do some heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, or Turkish get ups. Then joint by joint, we've got ankles, any form of balance work or calf raises. Knees, we've got Peterson step ups going into cyclist squats and going into sissy squats at a more advanced level. For hips, we have active 90-90. That's why we do the 90-90 stretch with some form of rotation and hip lifts. For our shoulders, we have external rotations and then strengthening our scapula and working on our rear delts. For our elbows, we have overhead tricep extension. And for our wrists, we have farmer's walk. So any form of grip strengthening exercises. Did I miss any out there?
Not that I can think of. No, no, that's good. I think it might be one for another episode one at some point, but the neck joint is something maybe we should focus on at some point as well, just to
Ah,
teach people how not to have the worst traps in the world.
I have done a neck program before. I mean, I've spoken about this many times. I've done a neck program before and got
Nice.
a really strong neck.
So go on.
It was
What would be your number one exercise for strengthening up the neck?
for strengthening up the neck. It's about trying to improve range of motion as well as strengthening, but you got to be very careful. And
Hmm.
it's one of those exercises that is weird and you nobody ever wants to do in a gym. But you lie on a bench with your head hanging off the bench, but you want to make sure first and foremost that you've got long, well, I like to say a long neck, so you're not scrunched up. And
Hmm.
then you essentially, if you're lying on your back, you're nodding your head back and then crunching up, but keeping everything long. And then you do the same, but on your front, and then you can do the same on your side as well. And your neck can handle high reps, so like 20 reps is good. And then essentially, progressive overload, you hold a plate. So get a towel or something and hold a little plate on your head. Do the same thing with like a start of a 1.25 plate and then move up. I eventually, when I did this years ago, I did a neck strengthening plan. It was actually a Josh Bryant plan, and I went from like 1.25 kilos to 20 kilo plate on
Oh,
my head,
Jesus Christ, man.
and my neck went up to like 20 inches from 17 inches.
You would have like a
It's gone,
thumb.
yeah, it's gone down a bit now, but it got a bit ridiculous. But that we had a client at our old gym who came in with a bad neck, and I didn't train him. Another guy was training him, but he did the kind of those protocols with the nodding of the head, either on side to side, and that really fixed his neck
Mm.
up. It's something so simple, but it works the muscles in the front of the neck, the back of the neck, but by keeping it long, and it helps keep your a good range of motion as well.
We went to the cinema the other day with our partners, and we watched a film called F1. And so, for those who don't know, I'm not a Formula One fan, but I do know this about Formula One. It puts massive, massive pressure on your core and your neck. And he was doing these, and if it was actually Brad Pitt doing these, fair play to him, because he was doing these neck exercises where basically his head was resting on the bed and he was
Mm-hmm.
basically doing side dips and then front dips and back dips with just his head as the leverage point and his feet
Yeah.
on the floor, and that's crazy
Mm-hmm.
strong. Like there's it's a lot of pressure to put on your neck. I definitely don't recommend doing that, by the way, if you've never done anything like that before, because you will probably hurt yourself. But yeah, it's impressive to see him doing it if it was him doing it. But that's what you have to do when you do that kind of intense sport as
Yeah.
well.
So I when I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, I watched a Mike Tyson video, and Tyson back in the day when he was training used to do neck bridges, so where you lie on your back and then roll up into a bridge, but you're not on your hands on your head.
Mm.
So I used to do those for jiu-jitsu. Um, and that's quite an extreme move. So you really got to take that steady. But that really did build up some strength in my neck.
Did you get any? Were there any after effects, negative or positive, for your traps or anything like that? Did you find? No. Okay.
No, not at all. Actually, it surprisingly doesn't hit your traps. It really is in your neck.
It's just all in your neck. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, all in the neck. Really hits the neck. The traps. I did do a lot of trap work alongside the neck program as well, because it was like a neck and trap program. And my traps did get bigger, but I find that as long as you still do some form of lower trap work, and like external rotation work is generally okay. Is some people are just, because they're like this all the time.
Yeah.
Then their shoulders are shrugged all the time, and that's why their traps are so on all the time. But with the neck plan, it's because it's teaching you're having to like extend a lot and have a really long neck. You're getting away from that, so it was actually quite beneficial.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part and this is something we'll probably delve into deeper on another episode. But remember, guys, when you're doing any of these things, if you are doing the opposite in your daily life outside of the gym, it's most reps wins most of the time. So although this would improve it, if you're out there undoing it all in your everyday life, especially with like tight traps or let's say bent elbow all the time, so you're struggling to straighten your tricep and your arm at the elbow. If you're undoing all this hard work, you're going to need to do more than 1 hour a week covering all of these things. It's going to need to be something that you're practicing at least a movement with. Doesn't have to be weighted, but practicing the movement with every day to undo the bad shit you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we are at the last portion of our episode, and the last portion is our 24-hour challenge. And with every episode, what we like to do is give you something that you need to do within the next 24 hours. And last episode, we got you to plan your first micro adventure. Hopefully, some of you went out and did your first micro adventure. That would be great if you did. Let us know how it went. I'd love to know. But my next one, the next 24-hour challenge, is going to be, what I want you to do within the next 24 hours is to go outside.
Excellent.
With no phone or anything, and just experience nature for at least half an hour.
It's good. Yeah, that should be freaking easy. It's summer at the moment, so if you're listening to this when it comes out, which will be middle of August or second week of August, then yeah, you should still be good weather. Get out there and get it done. Yeah, perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah, we covered for this already. And did we say this in the last episode? Because I know we've done it in other episodes before, but I can't remember. But basically, wherever you live, especially if you're in the UK, you should be less than half hour away from getting somewhere green. So I think we said that in the last episode, but this shouldn't be hard. So just, get out, find somewhere green, hear the bird song, be out in nature.
And don't take your phone.
Don't take your phone.
Happy days. Well, thank you everybody for listening. If you've got this far, you're amazing. If you've got this far and you're not subscribed, you should, if you're this far into the episode.
Yes, you should. So, yeah.
We also forgot to shout out EOT Ceramics with our wonderful cups, dimple cups. Yeah, we're not sponsored. We just like them. And yeah, like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, on Spotify, or wherever you watch podcasts. And also hit me up on Instagram, TikTok at Horizon Coach Josh. And hit Jack up, whatever his name is. What is it, Jack?
Jack. This is why I was just looking off to the side. Jack _ Horizon Strength. I think that's the same for most of them. And I have just got one thing to add. Okay, so throughout the episode, you may have heard a few things from my end. One of them would be chickens because I've got a bunch of cockerels. The other one might have been dogs because the dogs are barking because my partner is a dog groomer. But also, be quiet a second. There's this. Oh, of course, it wouldn't happen now. My leather chair has been squeaking on my desk, and it may or may not have sounded like a fart. I promise I haven't been farting the whole episode. It's just been the arm of my chair.
He's lying. He's lying. He's been farting this whole time.
Oh man, I can't believe it's not happening now. But so that's what happened. But it's been a pleasure, Josh.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining our faulty podcast, and we will see you next time.
Later, guys.
Bye.